So before this exercise, I'd like you to detune your guitar all over by one semitone, one fret. And the reason for this is that the slightly softer strings this will give you will force you to have a slightly softer touch, because you can't pick a soft string hard, it just doesn't sound right. So we're softening the strings to give you a more sensitive feel on the pick, and then we'll retune back up after. When you're keeping your playing clean, really you're using everything that you have that can touch the guitar. It isn't just the palm. So for example, some of the very cleanest players are actually country guys, because they use a lot of hybrid picking, and they involve these three fingers here. These are always touching the strings when they're not being used. And also the left hand, the underside of it mutes the strings as well. So what you get is a two-pronged attack, muting everything that shouldn't be ringing. So let's talk about that in detail and move on with the chisel. So what I'm going to do now is play some guitar for you, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to over-accentuate and exaggerate all of the muting techniques that I use to call into play to kill the evil string noise monster. So cue close-up shred. So I called them to play a barrage of crazy techniques there. Let me briefly talk you through them. The first one is what I call the hole. And the hole is a concept whereby every single string you're not playing, you touch. So if I was sustaining a single note, the thumb of my right hand would rest touching all of the bass strings I'm not playing, and the hybrid picking fingers of my right hand would reach down and touch every treble string I'm not playing, leaving one string left, which is the hole. And on my left hand, if I'm fretting a note, anything below the fretted note I'm muting with the underside of my left palm. So here's that in close up for you. So let's, for example, play this. It's a nice D note. So my thumb is resting on the D, A and E strings. I can almost bounce it there. And these fingers are going to rest on the E and the B, leaving only the G string free. So if I slap all the strings, I just get the G string, just the G string rings. And I've got the underside of this first finger just gently resting on the E and the B strings, so they're muted. Now, you actually need to have two places of touch upon any string to properly mute the string. Otherwise what you'll find is you'll get a harmonic, which sounds great but isn't always desirable, especially when you're playing very, very loud with a lot of distortion. So you need to make sure that every string is touched in two places, or by a large area of skin. For example, if I touch it with a little bit of skin, I get a harmonic. If I touch it with a bigger bit of skin, I get less of a harmonic, because I'm still muting. A lot of my skin is deadening the string. So that's why you can use a palm, which is so obviously one piece of area, but it's a big area. So that's the hole method. Now the way you practice that is you just play, and whenever you stop and sustain a note, rest the thumb on the bass strings, rest your fingers on the treble strings, and make sure your palm or the underside of your fingers are touching the treble strings of doom. Method one. Method two is an interesting one, and what I tend to do is lose my train of thought, have some coffee, and then pause the video. Ah yes, it's all come back to Chappers now. It's the snowplow. Of course it's the snowplow, what else would it be? So, what's the snowplow? I hear you cry. Basically, it's this finger here. It's very useful. Guitar playing is a lot of bending, otherwise you'd be playing glorified piano, wouldn't you? And pianos are evil. So when you bend strings, two things happen which can cause noise. The first thing is that they bend into other strings if you bend them far enough, and they can make noise. And that's undesirable. The other thing is that sometimes when you bend a string, if you're bending it with too much downward pressure, it can jerk and grate along the fret, which is also undesirable. So when you bend, but when you play anything in general, you need to use the minimum required amount of force to execute the operation. The guitar is a delicate instrument. You need to be soft-handed with every single thing that you perform on the guitar. You should be able to feel it resonate in your fingers. If you hold it too hard, you're just going to kill it.